Hi, this is another DrumWise Meets, and today I'm here with Ollie Harding, who's a freelance drummer who plays for the Shires. Hi, Ollie.
Hey mate, how's it going?
So, first question, what equipment are you currently using?
So currently using Ludwig drums. I've got a classic maple and also one of the reissue club dates, which I use mainly with the Shires at the moment. And I've got a bunch of different snares that I use, mainly a 402 Ludwig. I've got a few vintage options as well, which I like to go for. Stilsian cymbals, Remo drum heads, Roland for the electronics and stuff, because I like to trigger quite a lot of stuff live. Protection racket cases, and Reed Audio in-ear monitors.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with a Ludwig, can you? I mean,
oh mate, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
very good chance actually to give Jamie a shout out. Jamie, who all of us Ludwig artists, we'd be lost without Jamie, and what a guy.
Absolutely.
Sorts of out with our equipment, and our Christmas drinks.
Oh, for sure. Not forgetting that.
So, what age did you start drumming, and what band did you grow up listening to?
I started playing when I was about 7. My dad is sort of a semi-pro guitarist, so I was always sort of going to his jams and gigs and rehearsals and just sort of listening from about the age of about 5. And I always just wanted to have a go on the drum kit. And then I think when I was about 6, I ended up getting the opportunity to have a go, and I loved it. And then I just didn't shut up about drums then. So I think when I was 7, I started having lessons, and yeah, sort of taking it a bit more seriously. I'm trying to think what I used to listen to, but it was mainly all the sort of stuff that my dad had on. So it's quite a lot of guitar influenced music, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, quite a bit of rock like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC. That's what I sort of listened to growing up. Quite a lot of funk stuff as well, because my dad was in a funk band, so James Brown and that sort of stuff, Stevie Wonder. Yeah, so quite a range of music really. And then I think it went from just listening to that stuff because it was on to, right, I've got to learn this stuff, and then it just become a whole range of stuff, because I was listening to stuff for pleasure and also listening to stuff to learn as well. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And I feel this is a very hard question, but let's give it a go. Do you have an all-time favorite drummer? If you had to choose just one, is it possible?
I don't think I can say. I think it's just a tough question for anyone to answer, but I don't think I could say one. One person who really sticks out for me is Ian Thomas, who's a really well-known Welsh session drummer. And I was lucky enough to meet Ian when I was about 10, and we've remained really good friends ever since then. And he's sort of helped me along my career, probably more than anyone. Not so much directly, but indirectly, just like phone calls and stuff like that, just to help me along. And like I've had one lesson with Ian, but just advice and stuff like that I get from him has been really helpful. And also he's an absolutely incredible player. So yeah, like if I could be 1% of what he is, then I'd be very, very happy. But in terms of like old school players, I love John Bonham. That sort of yeah, just his playing style. I definitely feel like I take a lot from him, put that into my playing. And then more like I love like session drummers like Steve Gadd, Ash Sohan I'm also a big fan of. Yeah, it's really hard to think of without naming every single drummer, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I couldn't pick just one, so yeah. And interestingly, I've done one of these interviews with Ian. So yes, I didn't know there was that connection. So there we go.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I've known probably about 15 years now. I've known Ian, and he is an absolute legend and one of the most sound guys I've met in the industry. And he always answers the phone, or if he doesn't, he rings back and gives me his time of day, which for someone of that sort of level, so you wouldn't necessarily expect him to have the time to do that. But he used to do, when I was 10, 11, he used to answer the phone to me and call me back and give me advice and stuff. And yeah.
I mean, have you tried one of his fly cakes?
I haven't actually, no.
Oh, here we go. I mean, you got to watch the interview with him to know what I'm talking about.
Oh, really? Okay. I need to check that out. No, one thing he does is he leaves his tea bag in the tea. So
permanently in.
Permanently in, and as soon as he did that, I was like, there's the trick. So I've now taken that from him and also do the same. Nice.
What's the highlight of your career so far?
Well, I think as a whole, working for the Shires is sort of a highlight, because that's the main thing that I've done since I left uni. Well, while I was in uni, actually. So for those that don't know, the Shires are a UK country band. And yeah, I started working for them, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And just everything I've done with them has been absolutely amazing. Some of the highlights, we supported ELO at Wembley Stadium about 3 years ago, I think, which was absolutely amazing. Like, I say that like as if I'm used to it, but that was just absolutely mental. We've done Glastonbury with them a few times, which has also been incredible. I never thought that I'd be able to say things like that, and now I'm just like, yeah, we've done it a few times. It's just absolutely mad. So yeah, some of the gigs we've done with them, we played BST at Hyde Park a few times, which is absolutely incredible, because the crowd is just like a sea of people. It's absolutely huge. So gigs like that are just absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm really thankful for the opportunities that they've given me over the last 5 years. Yeah.
Wicked. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, doing some of those gigs, they're going to be career highlights, aren't they? Definitely. It's what everyone dreams of.
Exactly.
So when you first, just talking generally here, when you first get a gig with a new artist, how do you learn the songs, or how are you expected to learn the songs? So are you given loads of sheet music, or do you transcribe stuff yourself, or do you just listen to the tracks and take it all in? Kind of what has your experience been with that?
So in general, for an artist, I've never had sheet music actually given to me by the artist. I think usually I would get sent the tracks and then work the parts out by ear, and then sort of discuss whether I've got any sort of if I can change the parts at all, or if it's got to be exactly like the record. If I'm sort of stuck for time, then I might chart stuff out. If I've got 10 tracks to learn for tomorrow, there's no way I'd remember exactly what I'm doing. So I definitely write little notes or little just like cheat sheets to get me through the first rehearsal or something like that. And then if it was something that was really difficult, then I would full on chart it out. But I haven't had to do that for quite a while, because most of the stuff I'm playing is in pop music. It's mainly just 2 and 4 backbeat, just nice and simple stuff. So yeah, mainly by ear, to answer the question.
Cool. And just as a little sub question on that, so for people that are kind of just starting out or whatever, I know that reading drum music isn't like, it's not like the most important thing in the world, but would you say that it's helped you with your drumming career?
Yeah, absolutely, because well, I don't think there's any reason not to be learning to read music. It opens up another avenue for different kind of work, and like I'm talking about this from sort of a pop session point of view, but I know a lot of theatres, you're expected to be able to learn a whole pad and things like that with sheet music in, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you couldn't read a note of music. So it's definitely beneficial. It just opens up another avenue, as I say, and there's no reason not to at all.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nail on the head, I think. Great. Um, have you ever had anything go wrong on stage that you've had to recover from?
Yeah, so I did 2 years ago. I was working with a band called the Adelaides, who are another country band from the UK, and I was at, I think, Cornbury Festival, and we had a 30-minute slot, and I just took one kit, one set of cymbals, one snare drum, just one of everything. Stupidly, I usually pack two snares and two kick pedals, but I didn't, and I was using a 70s Superphonic Ludwig snare, which hasn't had the best TLC from myself, to be honest. And halfway through, I think the second song, the snare throw just completely fell apart and just all fell on the floor. So, I went from having this beautiful sounding snare drum to just a boom, boom, boom. And amazingly, I don't know if you know Bob Knight, London session drummer. He was playing with Megan McKenna, and she was on straight after us. And he was in the crowd. And as soon as I hit about 2 or 3 snares after it broke, I saw him running around the back. And about a minute later, I heard him shouting me from backstage and passing me his snare drum. So thankfully, I was able to just do a quick snare change mid-gig. And yeah, he saved the gig, to be honest, which was amazing. So very thankful for that, to be honest.
And that's actually, that just says it all. That's the really nice thing about us drummers. I think we're different to other like musicians, guitarists, bass players, whatever, in the fact that we seem to have this kind of drumming community and we want to help each other out. And I think that's really nice. That
Yeah, I totally agree. And I go back to sort of what I said about Ian Thomas before, and that people acting like that, and then like with Bob, and yeah, not talking badly about the other people instruments and stuff, but yeah, you don't seem to hear of that as much in, I don't know, the guitar world or something. Not like in the drum world anyway.
Yeah, this is not me. I'm not like slating guitar players. It's just, I just don't think it's not quite the same like little community that we've got. Although I say that, it might well be, but because we're not guitarists, we don't know about it.
Maybe that's it.
Do you use any electronics live with your main gigs that you're on at the moment? So, triggers, samples, backing tracks, that kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah. So I try and use electronics with pretty much every gig that I'm on now, in some way, just because I really like trying to work out all the parts, and then also take the stems from the original song and then sample them, layer them onto my kit. So I try and do that with everyone I'm working with, just so I can get the sound off the record. I just want my kit to sound as close to that sound as possible. So yeah, I've got at the moment I've got an SPDS X which I use for the triggers. I'm looking to get one of the TM6 Pros, just so I can do a little bit more of that, basically. But yeah, I try and do it, like I said, with everything. It's just the sound, the way that sort of industry's going, and everyone's trying to replicate tracks as close to the original as possible. So I'm sort of trying to go down the same route. Yeah.
Cool. So, slight curveball one here. What are your hobbies away from drumming?
Away from drumming, okay. Not much, to be honest. I think because playing the drums was always my hobby, well, from the age of 7, obviously up until now still, but when I sort of started taking it seriously, just your hobby becomes your profession. But outside of that, I like to keep fit, so I do quite a lot of cycling and running and stuff like that. I like eating out. I don't know if that's a hobby, but I do seem to do that quite a lot. Yeah, I think that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, keeping fit and eating nice food.
I'm yet to find a drummer that comes up with a really unusual one. I so wanted last night Kenny Aronoff to be like, yeah, I'm really into like knitting.
Yeah, I don't think he's a knitter, is he?
Unfortunately. Or someone comes along and says, "Oh yeah, painting by numbers," but nothing
Wow.
weird. what sort of person do you think you need to be to successfully work in the music industry?
That's a good question. I think you need to be willing to adapt to sort of every situation that you're in. So yeah, so not just being sort of down a straight and narrow, just being able to take different opportunities and say, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. You need to make sure you show up on time to everything, and you're just a nice person to be around. I think people don't want to work with people they don't get on with. So, you know, if you can be the guy in the room that's helpful and, you know, sort of goes above and beyond, then people will always ask you back. That's what I found.
So, probably the most important question of this whole interview. What's your favourite biscuit?
Okay, it's funny that you asked that, because I actually did a post on my social media a couple of weeks ago with a poll asking people whether they thought that this was the best biscuit in the world, because I think the best biscuit is a milk chocolate hobnob.
Oh, yes. I'm with you.
There isn't, I don't think there's a better biscuit than a milk chocolate hobnob. I've got to be honest. In tea or coffee, I don't think it gets any better.
Now that was the sub question there. So I was then going to go on to say, are you a dunker?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think you need to keep the biscuits away from me, because I will eat a whole pack of milk chocolate hobnobs in about 2 minutes.
So you wouldn't eat a milk chocolate hobnob on its own? Do you have to dunk, or?
I would eat it on its own, but I wouldn't choose to.
Okay. And it's interesting you say that you dunk it in coffee. That's a bit of a grey area. That some people are like, absolutely, you don't dunk anything in coffee. But
interesting.
Yeah.
I think tea or coffee, mate, with a milk chocolate hobnob, it's a winner. Try it and come back to me.
I will try it later, because I've got a whole cupboard full of milk chocolate hobnobs. So
here we go.
As long as we've got those in the house right now, with all these there's problems with food and stuff, nothing else matters. You know.
Absolutely.
You need toilet roll when you've got milk chocolate hobnobs.
There we go.
And last one. If you could give one bit of advice to up and coming drummers, what would it be?
Keep practicing. Don't stop practicing, because I got to a point where I was sort of like, oh, I don't really want to practice anymore, and just got a little bit lazy. And now I'm able, right now I'm able to practice more because we're at home, but you get to a point where you just don't have time, or you have less time to practice. So just, if you're an up and coming drummer, just putting in the time now will make your life so much easier when you get busy working and stuff like that. And also, you don't always want to practice when it becomes your job and you're, you know, on tour playing 6 nights a week for 2 months. You know, sometimes you want to have a couple of weeks of, okay, I'm not going to play the drums for a while. So putting in the time now, I think, is definitely a big positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally know what you mean there, because doing drums full time for me, yeah, it makes it like I've done a long day of teaching. The last thing I want to do is, oh, I know, I'm going to practice some jazz. Like,
yeah,
buy drums, I'm off.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Ollie, thank you so much for spending your time with us here today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. All the best and stay safe out there.
Lovely. Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.